Welcome to the Bird Cave. Grab yourself a brew and come on in. Let's go.
I think they on to something. I think they trying to switch it up.
Well, like you said, whether we like it or not, man, and like I said, it's still to be determined if this is going to work.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
definitely building their type of team right now. And I'm going to leave some people at this too because we threw that stat out that came on the radio last time with the last 43 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, 4 made the Super Bowl and 1 has won them. We get this whole what I call like one of those copy paste sayings in the NFL, and it doesn't mean it's not true because it is true, but it being a quarterback league, and in reality it is, right? But you're still only seeing a couple of these quarterbacks compete. The reason I think the Steelers team can compete, and this is being optimistic, and later on I'm going to give some concerns. It's a whole nother episode. We definitely still have a lot of concerns about this team, but what's beneficial to this team is they're not like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not like the Cincinnati Bengals to a point. We're more akin to the Baltimore Ravens in a sense because, surprisingly, right? Patrick Mahomes can't do anything when he doesn't have the ball. If we bludgeon
Facts.
these teams to death, control the ball, and then you know what? I'm sorry, you give a fresh defense against Mahomes. And like you said, there's not a big name receiver. Kelsey's eventually going to start slowing down just because of father time. Kelsey is still a beast. I get it. Mahomes is still the guy to beat until he is beat. I get it. But you're building a formula that can kind of combat that in a different way. So because you're building something opposite of what Kansas City has, you have a fighter's chance because you have a style clash, right? The way and listen,
Styles.
you get these big boys up front and you push that pocket on Mahomes, he don't like that. There's only one Chris Jones on the defense, and Kansas City's defense has improved vastly. I think you and I we talk about that's why they won the Super Bowl. It wasn't because of Mahomes, it's their defense. But if you build these big bullies up front, Mahomes don't get the ball. There's your boxer's chance. You don't need to outscore Mahomes all the time. If you have a clashing style that keeps his behind on the bench. And that's what's intriguing to me. That gives me hope because we're one of the few teams that are doing this style of football,
100%.
and we're not
And you
doing it with
can't
the
tell me Mike ain't studied this, bro. You can't
what's
tell me
that?
Mike hasn't. I say you can't tell me Mike hasn't studied this. You know what I mean? Like, I, I think sometimes people forget. Like he's this is going to piss people off. He's so good that he made you think that never having a losing season was a bad thing. That's how good he is.
Yeah,
Everybody says,
exactly.
"Oh, we don't want to talk about that no more. We don't want to talk about that no more." But the fact remains, like it's a bottle of like he wins more than he loses, and he always has a shot. So guess what that you know what that tells me? That tells me he's always thinking. That tells me he's always trying to
Yeah.
get better. He's always improving, and he's not afraid to go through the suck
Mm-hmm.
and he talks about it about being a coach. He says some guys are afraid to be a coach. Some guys are
Yeah.
afraid to actually coach. He said, "I embrace that," and I think that's why he never has losing seasons. But nobody wants to talk about that. Even wants to even have that even come up in a discussion of the fact that he's never tanked. There's never been one time he's ever tanked because he's never been afraid to continue to keep coaching. Didn't matter what the personnel looked like, what the you know what I'm saying. It never mattered.
And just off that stat alone, I read the 43 QBs that tells you tanking isn't always the way to go either. Tanking don't mean shit. It doesn't guarantee you shit. So the whole tanking for thing, or we got to go 4-13 to do this, or 3-50 for what? To go through misery and then just. Could you imagine if the Steelers were 3-15 and they picked the wrong quarterback?
No, we can't even handle 9-8, bro.
No, they can't. And like you said, that's one of the things where. And again, because you and I are athletes and we played, their tank is not in our vocabulary.
No,
we're 0-16. And we're going out for that one win. I'm sorry. If that's why I've had some issues with some buddies or just some other acquaintances and friends talking about that, and they bring that up. I got nothing for you, man. I'm sorry. That's not in my vocabulary. And that's not like some I've heard. Well, if you tank and you're doing that, that's like playing chess when other people playing checkers. No, it's not. Now you're just making shit up. Like you said. The point that these no losing season, and this is what irks me about this too, because we say that that's actually a good accomplishment. Now all of a sudden, that's our goal is a season. Our goal is just to not finish with a losing season. I never said that. Nobody's ever said that's the goal. You just can't admit that that's a great accomplishment. No, it's not a Super Bowl. It's not a Super Bowl. It's not a playoff win. I get it. Two things can be true at the same time.
Thank you.
Yes, outside of 2017, that's the only legit team the Steelers had that had a chance to put another ring on their finger. Outside of the 2010 loss to Green Bay. Let's be real about that. They got in. Tomlin willed some of these teams, whether they're injury prone at the end of Ben's year. The hell we getting in with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph for? What the hell do we not finish a losing season with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph? But nobody wants to give that for coaching credit. Right? So, like you said, that's a great accomplishment to go that long and not have a losing record in the NFL, which is so freaking competitive. That doesn't mean that's what we want or settle for. That just means that's a great accomplishment. And yes, the Steelers have fell short in a lot of seasons. And that is unacceptable, right? This is a higher standard organization. But doesn't mean that even though that's not acceptable with the playoff drought, we've had, that does not take anything away from what this man has done for 18 years.
In spite of, check this out, this thing gets deeper. In spite of having a potential Hall of Famer prematurely end his career due to injury. Another fringe Hall of Famer. Yes, I'm calling him a fringe Hall of Famer. Just completely not care about his career anymore because he lost his brother. People forget about how good freaking Stephon Tuitt was, bro. Like, they forget how great that dude was. Okay? We had another dude who just lost his another Hall of Famer who just lost his ever-loving mind because he couldn't handle a rookie wide receiver. He ain't been the same since.
Right. Is one bat crazy.
Tomlin was the dude that kept him under wraps from like 2010 to 2017? 2018? Come on, bro.
And you lose
the last 2 years after that.
And you lose an all-world running back because he got bad advice from his agent. Now, granted, Connor was in the wings, and Connor was a serviceable running back, but he's not a 16, 17 game a year running back. Love the man, but hey, is what it is, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like these are not excuses; these are reasons, and there's still some time.
Those don't happen to most organizations. And your quarterback was accused of rape.
Yeah,
early in your tenure.
Yeah, I mean, look at other coaches also too. And again, I'm just not looking to say he's better or not than the other, but you got all these great coaches lose their franchise quarterback, their Hall of Fame quarterback. But yet,
3-13.
oh, and by the way, too, and this is where I'm going to use Yinzer's words against him. He has no losing seasons with a shitty offensive line, an overrated defense, a first-round busted running back. He has a terrible coaching staff.
Yeah.
No wide receivers, a receiver that quits and can't catch touchdowns. Linebacking cores, you trade up for, get another linebacker bust. Your secondary sucks outside of Minka.
The worst offensive coordinator on the planet.
Worst offensive coordinator on the planet. Defensive coordinator sucks, but yet he has a winning record. Something ain't adding up right. Something's not adding up right.
Don't body them like that, Dudek.
Bro, some of these people, man, their 1 + 1 equals like 6.8. And I don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I get, like I said, and again, how I said two things can be true about Tomlin's great accomplishment, as well as some playoff droughts and not having success. You can be critical of Mike Tomlin because he deserves it, as most coaches
100%.
do. But you can also accept the fact that this man's a great coach. It's hard to win in the NFL. And it's funny that only the large pocket of Yinzers are the only one that's critical of this man. Outside the city,
they love him.
You know what? He'll have a job in 5 minutes if he gets fired. You know what? People are like, oh, well, then go ahead and do it. But that should tell you what you have, and that's the definition of being spoiled. And we're all spoiled. We were spoiled with the Penguins for how long, and now they're kind of like tanking off a little bit. They had, I think, 16 or 17 years in a row making the playoffs. That's remarkable. Right? Pirates are the Pirates. We get it. But the Steelers are the model of consistency with the Penguins. We are spoiled, man. I'm just thankful that I am a Steelers fan. And up until recent memory, we're not Lions fans. Right. We're not Browns fans or Giants fans outside of their two ring. We're consistent. Every year there's a shot. Every year we're in it. And eventually you're going to break through. You know what I mean? So you get to the playoffs and you're playing these Kansas City Chiefs. You have no business being there and playing them.
Yeah.
Buffalo, they probably could have beat them, but they really had no business beating Buffalo. Buffalo's clearly the better team, especially with no TJ. So, again, you can also be critical of the playoff shortcomings, also realizing who the better team actually was.
Right.
People act like the criticisms of Tomlin act like that the Steelers they were the number one seed every year and they were the best team every year. And they were losing to lesser teams in the playoffs. No. A lot of times outside of 2017, they were playing better teams. And those are just facts. And you're going to lose to better teams, Cleveland, yeah, they should have won. Maybe one of those games in Denver, probably should have won. And I'm going to tell you this too.
Sure.
Yeah, that Tebow game is just that I can't get that out of my head too. But obviously the Jacksonville game, 100% should have won that game. That should have been a Super Bowl team. But it's just like there's I don't know. It just seems like there's just not an unfair curve with this fan base with Tomlin, but there's an unfair curve with this fan base with Tomlin. The expectations, I think, are a little too high. Again, 100% I'm agreeing. I co-sign a lot of the criticism, but I don't knock him because he's a great coach. But